it gets where I can't see where the mouse is on. There's a conception in cybersecurity that we're just victims, and there's nothing we can do about it because the attackers are way smarter than we are. Don't buy it. That's a load of hogwash.
That's right.
You know, there's two classes of people in this world. There's them and us, and you don't want to be one of them. Them are the attackers, us, we're the good guys. We really can win, and you don't need a computer science degree. So just hang with me, and we'll make this go. And thanks for the MacBook too. Okay, so why do I have a slide with a picture of underwear in the same? Because okay, so. Who says IT is boring, right? This was back in the 1983 or 84, somewhere in there. And I worked for this company called Digital Equipment Corporation, big, huge monster computer company in its day. And General Motors is still the biggest car company in the world. General Motors way out of their time. Somewhere in the early 80s, General Motors bought this service company called EDS. Remember Ross Perot, H. Ross Perot? So he started EDS. GM bought EDS, and then EDS ran all of GM's IT in infrastructure. And there was a company called Delco Remy Electronics in Anderson, Indiana. This ancient building, like from the 1800s. And on the third floor of this building, there was a computer system, and the hard drive crashed. In those days, hard drives, they looked like washing machines. They were big. The hard drive crashed, and that took out all their data.
Ooh.
Just-in-time inventory was a big deal in those days. Yeah. That was we were learning how don't stack up all your inventory in the plant. Stack up your inventory in transportation while it's on the way. It comes off the loading dock and right onto the assembly line. Everything's nice and tight and efficient that way. That depends on knowing how much inventory you've got and where it is and how much you need to order and who you need to ship it to. All that stuff was inside this system, and it died. Okay, so no big deal. Repair the hardware and restore from backups, right? That's what we do. Well, this is where the fun part comes in. It turns out that EDS was operating this whole system. EDS thought the developers were backing up. The developers thought EDS was backing up. When they finally talked to each other, they figured out that nobody was backing up. The single one and only copy of everything that Delco Remy Electronics needed to operate was inside that system, and it was dead. And so you can imagine the phone calls from the General Motors CEO to the digital CEO, and they called vice presidents who called other vice presidents who called other managers, and eventually somebody called me, and I went to Anderson, Indiana without a change of underwear, like bam, right away. And I didn't contribute a whole lot of substance to getting them recovered. The IT team that worked for them, the developers, they didn't sleep much for the next 3 days, and they put most of it back together from raw disk blocks. It was a big deal. I learned how to wash my underwear out in the sink. If your underwear gets dirty, turn it inside out, and if it's still dirty, wash it out in the sink and put it over the. So that's the. Who says IT is boring? I have a ton of stories like that. It can be really, really, really colorful if you let it. And then I'm going to give you some boring statistics that hit home. Most of these just go in one ear and out the other, and there's no sense in even taking notes because they change all the time. The only thing I want you to remember from this slide is there's lots of attacks and there's lots of people doing lots of bad stuff every few seconds. I'm going to zero in on this one. A cyber attack happens once every 39 seconds. That's not true.
Yeah, it's more
sometimes I do this presentation, I do it live, and I plug it into just my stuff. And I'll show you. Here's 8 seconds. This is on a slide, but 8 seconds in my basement. The computer science, every single one of these is somebody from somewhere in the world trying to penetrate my network. I've got a firewall that logs all this stuff. I spent like 15 years building firewalls for people, so I'm pretty good at it. 8 seconds, boom. And sometimes they machine gun in faster. And so that's the statistics, but any Star Trek fans? All right, we have to over this. I need more statistics and numbers. Give me stories. I don't do his voice real good, but I can overact. So we'll do a few stories. This one, you remember? Anybody have relatives or done security clearances?
Like my husband.
Your husband?
Did.
If you applied for a government security clearance, you know where I'm going with that.
We were in the list.
Yep, you're a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 million victims. The Chinese know everything your husband filled out in that form. The Chinese know about it. You'll have potential problems for the rest of your life. Congratulations, you might get $700 from the lawsuit.
They no longer have OPM, by the way. It's now a new agency because of part of that.
Yeah. New agency, same government.
Yeah, same government.
Yeah.
But OPM truly does not exist anymore. It's now NCSIS or something.
Yeah. And I wish it were better. SolarWinds, we could spend an hour talking about SolarWinds. This is industrial cyber attack stuff, but it applies to all of us. SolarWinds helps operate a whole bunch of the largest networks in the whole world, like the U.S. federal government and most of the Fortune 500 and a lot of the telecom companies. SolarWinds has network management stuff behind it. Well, it turns out that attackers got inside the SolarWinds software development environment and they planted evil software and they corrupted SolarWinds. And so when all these guys updated their SolarWinds, they downloaded the bad software, and now I think that this Chinese or Russians, I can never keep it straight. They know everything about these networks that the people who operate the networks know. It was a big deal, and you care about that because supply chain attacks.
Yeah.
Let me show you how supply chain attacks work. This is okay. Metaphorically, we've got the good guys, and they're in a room and they're plotting how to save the world. Okay, we've all seen the spy movies, right?
Yep.
So here's the good guys plotting how to save the world, and here's the bad guys listening in. The room is bugged. The bad guys are listening in, so the bad guys know what the good guys are plotting. Great. How do you scale that up? If I'm a bad guy, it's great that I can listen into one room. I want to listen to every good guy room in the whole world. How do I do it? Well, this is what you do if you're creative. You take over, how do you do that? If you're creative, you take over the light bulb factory. Okay?
Sure.
And then you put plant bugs in the light bulbs. Every time they change the light bulb, you own the room. That's
Oh my gosh. That's great.
That's the creativity you're up against.
Yep.
Bad guys are creative. They are. And there's some really smart, really creative bad guys. We can win, and I'll give you some tips to win, but first I'm just going to depress you because I want you to know what you're up against. So I want you to take it seriously. I'm not big enough for anyone to attack. Any Captain Janeway fans?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I should have said this earlier, but there are people who thrive on structure and order and predictability. I'm not one of those. So questions or whatever, just ask, and we'll go over it. We got to be out of here by 11, but just ask, and we'll fly through this stuff too. And it's gonna be recorded, so you can play it back. So that's good too. This was. You don't have to look. You don't have to work hard to find these stories. This is from a week and a half ago. A Minnesota man posed as a federal agent in social media just to get chicks. That was his deal. He posed as a federal agent, and a lot of them believed him, and so he got a whole bunch of dates that way. But he lied. He lied on social media.
Oh.
That one's moderately funny.
The way it goes.
This next one is not so funny. There's Sextortion.
Oh, yeah.
This was yesterday. This was in the news just yesterday. A teenage girl posted some pictures that who knows what, and somebody posing as another teenager extorted her. Give me more pictures or I'm going to make all these things public. So you post these things and you think it's private to just your boyfriend or your girlfriend or whatever, and somebody else finds them and they extort you to do more. Mm-hmm. And there was a case in 2012 where some guy from Holland, extorted a 12-year-old. Oh. She committed suicide. Serious stuff. This is serious stuff. People, when you talk about cybersecurity, a lot of people think it's just numbers and characters and stuff flying across a computer screen. What's it really? Or a phone. But it's people commit suicide. And It's more than money and robbery. It's fundamental to what we do today as a society, and that's different from how the world was when we were growing up. So that serious business. Oh, get over there, right there. Oh, this was another one. This was from a couple months ago of a Facebook post in Egan Neighbors. Somebody, a guy took a phone call from, and somebody on the other end said, "We have your fiance, and we're going to kill her. She's dead unless you give us a whole bunch of money. Go to Walmart and transfer all this money, or we're just going to kill her." It was all fake. He came out of it okay. The fiance called while he was driving in his car, crying and trying to figure out what. And the fiance called and had no idea what was going on.
Oh,
the whole thing was a setup. But this guy almost moved thousands of dollars into some offshore bank account somewhere because he thought. That's called social engineering. I'll call this one social engineering on steroids. Serious business. This is my website. I'm the only one I know that collects phishing samples. Phishing with a PH.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So phishing, I'm fishing for victims. PH, fishing for victims. And you would not believe, I collect these and I offer helpful commentary. So you go to my website and go to dgregscott.com and go to fish samples, and you'll see some of the screenshots and the commentary. And I grade them too. I think one of these, this one I think I gave a B+. This one, people that are gun enthusiasts, it was a message crafted for people who like guns. If you like guns and don't let them take all your guns away, click here to make everything all better. Some of those are just scams to make money. Some of those are ways to introduce malicious software into your computer. Pick your scheme.
Really?
They're all over the place. And I had a Twitter death threat one time, and it was all, "I'm going to kill you unless you send me a whole bunch of money." So I posted it. Don't tell anybody. So I posted it in public.
So that fake email notification phishing, how do you know about that?
Didn't hear. Say that again.
That fake email notification phishing?
Oh, how do you know?
Yeah.
I know because this doesn't scale to the whole world, but I know because most of the fake email notifications that I get claim to come from my email administrator. Well, that's me. All I have to do is look in the mirror and ask, "Did I do that?" No. So that doesn't scale, because if you're in a larger organization, how do you know if it's real or not? So there's a couple tactics. One tactic is learn how. Well, I'll get into this later, but I'll just do it right now, and then when I get to it later, I'll just skip it. So one because I don't do structure and order.
Because you get Facebook, somebody's trying, it's like,
Oh, Facebook impersonations? Yeah.
Somebody's trying, is that you or not, or yes?
Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
Is that what you're talking about, right?
Well, we'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. But, okay, we're going to do those two right now. And then when we get there, we'll skip it. Okay, first, email. Email, learn how to decipher email headers. In Outlook, you use Outlook, you go File, Properties, and there's this whole bunch of computer science. And you'll see inside all that computer science, you'll see the routing. You'll see where the email really came from instead of where it claims to come from. That can be a tip. You can also, a lot of times you can do it from content. A lot of those fake notifications, the grammar, you can just tell it's somebody who doesn't speak English as a native language.
Yeah.
So you can decipher that. A lot of times you'll know where you work, who your email administrator is. And if it comes from some anonymous something or other, then you just know. Remember Pat Miles on WCCO radio? She got in the radio and said, our email administrator called and said, "I need to clean up some of my emails." Like, "Pat, you dork. Click here to make everything all better." I called into the radio station and she made fun of me. So, but then she doesn't do radio anymore, so maybe that says. So and Facebook. So that's email. Decipher email headers, and in Gmail it's view and original, and you can see the whole header stuff. The header isn't the to, from that you normally see, and email header is stuff that email servers use to route the email. So that's header has multiple meanings. Okay, impersonations. This is a trick. I have a half brother, David, and we share the same father, different mother. So a few years ago, I got this goofy email from David, and I wasn't sure what to do with it. And then another email came and said, just ignore that because somebody got into my account and did all this bad stuff. And that got me thinking, how do I know you're you? So I said, so David, how do I know you're you? Why don't you tell me the maiden name of our, you're my half brother, tell me the maiden name of our mother. See, we share the same father, but I said, tell me the maiden name of our mother. He replied back, he said, that's a good one because we have the same dad, his name is Doug, and now I know you're David. So the tactic is, if you suspect an imposter, ask, and this is not a technology thing. This is just, people to people. Ask a bogus question. You know those cookies we had last week? What'd you put in the recipe? Just something innocent. Just ask a bogus question. The answer is it's a bogus question. You frame your question such that you've known each other forever and it's just the silliest thing in the world, and just ask the question, and then use your human common sense judgment to decide whether the answer makes sense or not. Is that helpful?
A little bit, but they say sometimes not to even click on it because if you click on it or reply to them or something, you get.
Don't click on it.
Something.
You'll get an email, your bank account is all screwed up, and click here to make everything better.
Yeah.
Don't click on
Was
it.
it you or not you? Sometimes they say, was that you or not you? So how do you know? You don't want to know it was not me, or
Yeah,
you don't
well,
want to click on it either because it's a bad.
yeah, Facebook messages and stuff like that, and you're not sure, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Just ask, and if they have fun with it. I took a fake tech support call one time. This is just hilarious, and you have to know the IT industry for why this is hilarious. I was standing on the 17th floor of the Red Hat Tower, Red Hat Corporation. Red Hat builds a product called, supports a product called Linux, and that's a direct head-to-head competitor to Windows. If there's any spot on the entire planet where there would not be a Windows system, it's inside the 17th floor of the Red Hat Tower. So here I am standing there in Raleigh, North Carolina. My cell phone rings. I answer it. Some guy with a thick Indian accent says, we've noticed that your Windows computer is acting badly. Please let us connect into it to fix everything up. This is great. This is great. Come here, guys. Come here. We got to do this. And so we bantered a little bit. I bantered a little bit with the guy, and I finally had enough. I said, so now where are you? Where are you located? He said, Ohio. I said, where in Ohio? He said, downtown Ohio. I said, you might want to work on your geography for your next victim. When you look your mother in the eye, when your mother asks you what you do for a living, what do you tell her? Do you tell her you steal from people? Oh, no, sir, we're not stealing. Sometimes you can have fun with them.
So is it just hovering over the address? Because that's usually what I do when I have a question. If you hover, it's anything that looks.
And it's some weird link. It's some weird link that goes to China somewhere. Yeah.
So just
that's not completely reliable. That can be faked. I haven't seen it very often. Hover over the link and just see where it points. That's helpful. It's not 100% foolproof, but it is helpful. But in general, just don't click on it. So an email comes in from somebody claiming to be your best friend. Click here for some great recipes. Call your best friend on the phone and ask if she really did send that before you click on it. So that'll come later, but there's no substitute for good old-fashioned human judgment. You'll hear that from me a lot. I do high tech for a living, but don't be super duper married. Just because it's technology doesn't mean you turn your common sense off.
That's right.
Does that help? Okay. All right. Where were we? I got way ahead of myself, but no big deal. We'll catch up. Here's where it gets personal. This is great. I'm a victim myself. I'll fly through these stories because we're burning time here, but November 2011. I wanted to buy some equipment. I was a reseller and a consultant at the time. I needed to buy some equipment. The credit card, U.S. Bank denied the credit card. Why'd they deny it? I called the fraud department. U.S. Bank was great. Kim from U.S. Bank, she was great. We spent more than an hour and we chased through every single fraudulent transaction. We had transaction IDs. We even called some of the people at this store in Florida where some clown had tried to use my credit card number to buy stuff. It was all denied, but they turned off the credit card for good reasons.
Right.
I packaged all that stuff up. I sent it to the FBI, and I'm still waiting on a call back. Glad I didn't hold my breath. I have a bunch of other FBI stories. I don't have time to tell them, but what you conclude from that is if you're a victim of this kind of stuff, law enforcement is not going to help you. They have lots of nice websites that offer toll-free numbers to call. It would be better if there was someone on the other end that actually could do something. You're on your own. If you're an identity theft victim or a fraud victim, you're on your own, and you are guilty until proven innocent. That's just the way it works. It's not fair. It's terrible, but better to know. We'll just. This is a great story, but we don't have time to tell it. I had to explain to the FBI what the internet was. They know what the internet is.
Oh, that's true.
We'll get there. Okay, so anyway, why is it, I've given you all these stories, why do bad guys, how come it seems like they can just plunder us at will? Why is that? Why do they get away with it? This is from Star Trek Enterprise. Remember the Klingons were, okay, that's why I picked that picture. Can you tell them to start? Well, this is why. How do bad guys win? They collaborate. This was a website called deep.web.com. If you wanted to find anything illegal, go to deep.web and search for it. There were volunteers who kept this website up, and they kept it updated all the time. Find whatever you want to find: illegal drugs, illegal women, illegal men, illegal anything. Just find it behind a Tor proxy. Here's the directory of it. The FBI in 2019 shut deep.web down. How do they do that? They used a legal process, and they acquired the domain name, and they pointed the domain name to their own servers, and their own servers said this doesn't exist anymore. So bad guys collaborate, but bad guys also adapt. This is deeponionweb.com. It's still alive today.
Oh, wow.
Tor, the onion router, invented by the NSA, the National Security Agency, the good guys. Bad guys also hide their stuff behind Tor proxies. They say guns don't kill people, people kill people, they're just tools. So we invented Tor to get past totalitarian regimes, and now bad guys use it too. So deeponionweb.com, you can get to it today. It's still alive. The last time I checked, it's still there. And there's others. There's other forums and places where bad guys interact with each other. Bad guys collaborate. Good guys need to work on that. And how do good guys lose? Okay, this needs a little bit of theory. You've all heard about certificates, and you know about HTTPS. You've heard that speech a million times, right? How does all that stuff work? Forget computer technology for a minute. This is the theory. Alice wants to visit Bob's banking website. Okay, Alice and Bob. How does Alice know that Bob really is Bob? Bob could be somebody pretending to be Bob. Alice could go there and just have bad stuff happen, right? Because it's on the internet, you can't see anybody. The way that works is a model called trust. We introduce a third player, we'll call her Kathy. Kathy the CA, Kathy the certificate authority. Bob trusts Kathy, and Alice trusts Kathy. If Kathy says Bob is okay, then Alice trusts Bob. That's the whole theory. That's the whole theory. How does Kathy say that Bob's okay? Bob proves to Kathy that he's good. Kathy gives Bob a certificate that says, "Yep, Bob, you really are Bob." Signed, Kathy. Bob shows Alice a certificate. Alice says, "Yeah, signature looks good. Bob, you're Bob. I trust you." That's how it works. That's the trust model. There's a whole bunch of math and computer science and other stuff behind it to make sure the signatures are good. Okay, that's the theory. The whole thing depends on Kathy being trustworthy.
That's right.
If Kathy is not trustworthy, everything falls apart. Turns out there have been some issues over the years with pretty much every certificate authority, every public CA certificate authority there is. They've had certificates stolen, they've had break-ins, they've had data breaches, all kinds of bad stuff. So that's one way that we lose. The institutions that we count on break. That's one way that we lose. Here's another way that we lose. More institutional failures. Yeah, a lot of the software that bad guys use, they stole it from the NSA. There's a market for bugs, for exploits, for security exploits, and so the NSA, some of the people at the NSA take advantage of these security exploits, and they write software to take advantage of software bugs and get inside systems. Well, bad attackers got inside the NSA and stole a lot of that stuff because the NSA didn't protect their stuff well enough. Don't believe it when you see these news stories about how smart people in government are. They're not any smarter than we are. They just say that they are, and they have like the government, but they're not. They're just not that smart. They're just big. So that's one way, and then here's another way. This is colorful too. Willful ignorance is what I call this. Meet John Podesta. He was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. I'm going to pick on some Republicans big time in a minute, but right now I'm going to pick on a Democrat. He everybody, we all remember the 2016 election, and remember the Democrats were really embarrassed when their emails, their dirty laundry emails were in public. He was a big part of it. He comes home one night, he's tired, and he had an email claiming to come from Google. And the email said, "Your password is all screwed up. Click here to update it."
Oh no.
Oh yeah. He clicked here, and he gave away his password to the Russians.
Oh.
And the Russians drained his emails, and that's how a lot of it ended up in WikiLeaks. A campaign manager for the President of the United States. He wrote an editorial in the Washington Post about how he wanted an FBI investigation. John, you're stupid. The end. Sorry. You fell for the oldest trick in the book.
Yes.
And you were a chief of staff to the President of the United States, and you fell for a trick like that. Sorry. I'm not going to give him any sympathy. Okay, both sides of the L. Norm Coleman for Senate. Remember in 2008, the closest election in the history of the Senate? The election's over, and I got an email in early 2009 from this group called WikiLeaks I'd never heard of until then. And the email said, "Greg, a lot of your personal information has been compromised because of the Norm Coleman website." So what happened was, if you signed up with the Republicans to get their email updates, it kind of made me an insider because I got email updates. Way cool. Yeah. Well, so what happened was, Coleman decided he wanted to move his website to a different hosting place. And so he did, but he left the original content in the old place with the old IP address. And a computer contractor got curious about what was at that old IP address, and so she looked. She found a spreadsheet.
Oh.
Problem number one, she could directory the files, the raw files that were on the website. Problem number one. Problem number two, the spreadsheet with all the donor information, including credit card numbers, was in the clear, and it was on the same system as the website, public-facing website content.
Oh no.
That's stupid with a capital S. And so she downloaded it, and then she told the world about it. She should have contacted the Coleman campaign, but she didn't. She told the whole world, so that was on her. And that's how I found it. That's how WikiLeaks found it, and WikiLeaks told me, and then I did some homework on it. Coleman went on TV, and he said, "Somebody hacked into our system because it's behind multiple firewalls." Norm, you don't know what you're talking about. It wasn't. It just wasn't. That's another willful ignorance. So, and there were stories about credit card fraud from people who donated to the Coleman campaign. I didn't do any donating, so my email address is pretty much public anyway. What do I care? But a lot of people. That's small potatoes compared to what's gone on since then. And I gave you the NSA stuff. I must have been, and SolarWinds, we talked about SolarWinds already, but I'm going to just sum that up by saying asleep at the switch. Those guys should have been better, and I have some comments we'll do later about how you can guard against that kind of stuff at our level, at our individual consumer level. You can't make SolarWinds change. Well, actually you can. You got some cloud. We'll get there in just a second, maybe a minute. Okay, so you remember that was in our front yard. I was thinking I need a visual. I was gonna light that on fire because then it would be a dumpster fire, but then my insanity faded and I didn't light it on fire. So that's the state of computer. You just put an imaginary fire in your brain. That's the state of cybersecurity today. It just is. And the reason it's so bad is because so many of us are willfully ignorant, and we don't need to be. So there's today's humor. Let's recap. What are we up against? Bad guys have this huge support network and a whole big infrastructure. We're up against super creative people, and everybody we trust has turned out not to be trustworthy. And this is a biggie. Lies fly around the planet a lot faster than truth. We're going to fly through those slides in a minute. So we're up against that. Maybe we should just give up. What do you think? Should we just give up? Okay, so this is the building thing. Here's how we give up. You buy a cave in Montana and hide, and you pay with cash because credit cards are no good anymore. And bad guys have unlimited time and creativity, and you don't. Okay, so does that make you mad?
Yes.
It should. It should make you mad. See, because we need to win. We're going to fly through some slides here. There's a lot of, okay, here's our, that was the depressing part. This is how we win. And I'm going to do social media first because events recently have made social media a whole lot more important. Yeah. Cybersecurity, there's three pieces to it. Mostly what we talk about, there's three, we call it the CIA triad. It's a good memory aid, CIA and security. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability. We make sure that the data we protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of data. I'm going to talk about integrity for a minute with the social media stuff, and we'll fly through some of this here. So how do we deal with disinformation campaigns? There's a lot of psychology behind it. This was straight out of a Twilight Zone episode from 1960. In the episode, there's a small town, there's a power failure, but except one guy's car starts. So everybody gets suspicious of that guy. And then now his car doesn't start anymore, and somebody else's car starts, and they get suspicious. And it builds like that over and over and over and over again. Until finally the whole town, they're all at war with each other. There's pitchforks and guns and knives, and they're battling out. Camera pans back. These two guys are space aliens. And the dialogue is, see, we don't have to do anything. You just set them against each other, they'll kill themselves, and then we roll in. Keep that in mind when we talk about social media. And I dump on Hollywood hacker stereotypes, but this time Hollywood got it right. Yeah, but it was a long time ago.
1960.
Okay, the boxing match. In one corner, we have the fire hose of falsehood versus the squirt gun of truth. That's my grandson Zeke. I paid a price to get that picture. He sold me. So there are academic studies about this stuff. I give you some humor to get your attention. MIT did the study, and the long and the short of it is, lies travel way, way, way faster than truth. Just way faster. There's academic studies that prove it. We're not going to go into details because we're almost out of time. I am going to tell you a quick story here about what happened to me. There's macro stuff and there's micro stuff. This is micro stuff. There was a summer 2019, rumors flew around the internet about a predator at Patrick Egan Park, right near our neighborhood. And there was somebody in Patrick Egan Park wearing a mask, and he was a predator, and he was picking on children. And that rumor got hundreds of shares and thousands of comments. My daughter did some checking. It turned out it was my grandson wearing a mask. He was playing a costume. He likes to role play. He was playing a costume. People thought it was a predator, including the police. It went on the Egan Police Facebook page, predator in Patrick Egan Park. So she called the police and said, wait, just our grandson playing in a... That's all it was, my grandson. So that should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. The Egan Police put on their website that it was a prankster.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. And then they came out and interviewed us. Okay, fine. They want to find out what's going on. Cool. They do their job. They interviewed us. That's done. And then they charged my 11-year-old grandson with fifth-degree assault. because of viral Facebook lies. one of the possible penalties for 5th degree assault is removal of the child from the home and placement in foster care.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. It's a big deal. You can imagine that I was unhappy. The story has a happy end. I spent a lot of money for a really, really, really good attorney, and we had a judge who was no nonsense, and we won. We won in court. But maybe other families won't win. So, the prankster bit, that got hundreds of shares and thousands of comments. I went to every single share I could find and added my truth to it. Remember the fire hose versus a squirt gun? I added my squirt gun to it. My comments didn't get shared at all, hardly at all.
Mm-hmm.
Lies travel way faster than truth. Lies are sensational. People want to believe the lies. So I lived it firsthand. Here's some macro stuff. This will be controversial, but this one, the Comet Ping Pong Pizza Parlor, Washington D.C. That was the epicenter. If you believe some people, that was the epicenter of a Democratic-controlled child sex ring. Well, it wasn't. Kids were having a birthday party at this pizza place, kid's birthday party, and Jack Posobiec decided he was going to live stream it. So he live streamed this kid's birthday party. Kid's birthday party, and live streamed it across the internet. Nobody knew who this guy was. He just in here live streaming and making comments about how adults are molesting our children. And so the pizza parlor owner saw him do it, gave him some pizza, asked him to leave. He left. But by then the story was out, and it went all over the place. And InfoWars, what's that guy's? Alex Jones, InfoWars. He published it. It went wild. The story went wild. And then some idiot from North Carolina got in his car, drove to Washington D.C., guns drawn, went in the pizza parlor with guns drawn. He's going to save these kids from the evil predators. There were no evil predators. Look up Pizzagate. There's long articles about it. It doesn't stop. COVID kicks in. This is Judy Mikowitz. She did a interview, a YouTube interview, about an hour. She wrote a book about how Fauci engineered COVID and then held back a cure because he wanted to make money from the other cures. And so she wrote a book, and then she did this interview. The interview went viral. Her book rocketed to #1 on Amazon.
Sure.
Yeah, power in that stuff. And Stella Emanuel, she was just kind of crazy. She was just crazy. I don't remember what her conspiracy theory was. It was COVID related. The one cure, her magic cure worked, the other stuff didn't. And then QAnon, millions of people, partly because of this Pizzagate, everybody believed that there's a deep state and only Donald Trump can stop all these predators and stick to the plan and blah. Millions of people believe this stuff because it flew around on social media. The fire hose of falsehood and the squirt gun of truth, the metaphor holds. It's a great metaphor. It's humorous, but it holds. The Rand Corporation gave me that fire hose of falsehood. It's a great metaphor. This is a social media thing. So a friend of mine took shared a Trump tweet. I challenged President Trump to present one piece of evidence, and then this person said, "Wow, what news channel are you watching? They have the servers from Germany with every bit of blatant evidence. Didn't you know that? The 2020 election, there was Chinese Venezuelans that corrupted voting machines, and they counted the votes in Germany, and they used Italian supercomputers over satellites to get to the voting machines, and the story just got more wild every day. And teach your kids and grandkids critical thinking skills, please. This is politics. I'm not making any statements at all about who's a good president or a bad president. Just critical thinking skills on what flies around social media. And this is a great example. And it leads to really, really, really ugly stuff. And this is a sad chapter in our history. I don't need to talk about that anymore. And we're not the only. The Russians do it too. The Russians have a whole government. Their whole government behind it. I have friends in Ukraine, and some of them have tell stories about when they talk to their own parents. The parents believe the government propaganda, the Russian propaganda, and they don't believe their own kids in Ukraine experiencing this stuff.
Oh no.
So that's why I did social media first. That's integrity of data. It's integrity. It's a hypothetical word, but it's real world, and it has real world, big time, global consequences. So that's social media. What do we do about it? Okay, social media. I have a general what do we do about it, but I put social media on its own. I would like to see social media companies adopt this thing called circuit breakers. So just like in the stock market, when stock prices go wild, the circuit breaker kicks in and we stop trading in that stock till things settle down. Let's do a similar tactic with social media companies. Ad hoc censorship it's self-defeating. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. I heard a suggestion the other day. If you want to share something, after it's been shared 3 times, make the people copy and paste it instead of just clicking the share button. There's your circuit breaker right there. So use our influence as members of the public to tell social media companies we want you to do this kind of stuff. However, social media companies' revenue stream depends on engagement. How do you get engagement? You amplify sensational stuff, which makes people mad, which makes them post more, so then they can see more ads, and so that makes more money. That's the way it works. That's the way it works. And so up to a point, it works up to a point. But then when a mob invades the Capitol, then you have to clamp down on it because that's bad for business. When you destroy the country, that's bad for business. I think there's a better way. I think we can use social media better. And there's also a personal responsibility component to it. Think twice before you share. That's a bigger thing too. So there's stuff we can all do. And seek out opposing points of view is a good thing too. Okay, we're going to fly through this quick. Email hygiene we already talked about. Remember I said I was going to skip that part? Mm-hmm. We talked about it. A couple email samples. And then patching is a big deal. Oh, all right, we're going to be close. Patching is a big deal. So your Windows says your computer needs to be patched and you don't want to do it because it's just a pain. Do it. It's a worse. Those patches solve security problems. Yes. Security is an arms race. Bad guys find exploits. Good guys find out that bad guys learned about the exploits and good guys fix the exploits. So then the bad guys find other exploits. So you just keep patching and exploiting and patching and exploiting. That's the way it works. And anybody who tells you that I have a computer or a device from company X and it's secure, it will never be broken into, you just laugh at them. No. It's not true.
So patching is the McAfee's and the Nortons?
No. Thank you for the question. No, that's antivirus. We'll get to that in a minute. Patching, update. The other word for it is applying updates.
Okay,
updating.
Okay, updates.
Yep. Sorry, I slipped into an IT word there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I did a Windows update on my computer downstairs just last night because I didn't want it bothering me today. And then they gave me this MacBook to present it. So, but apply your updates. That's the big deal. Apply your updates. Stay current with your software versions because the vendors are always fixing bugs and fixing security holes. That's a biggie. Authentication we talked about a little bit. That's the ask the bogus question. How do you know that your other person is who they claim to be? And especially around social media. So that's that. We'll skip that. And then trust. Trust has a couple of elements. One element I told you about with Alice and Bob and Kathy, that's one element of trust. The other element of trust is how do you trust your suppliers? The supply chain attacks, hold that thought, we're going to get to it, we're going to get to it. Oh, we're going to get to it. Password management's another big deal. Okay, the conventional wisdom says use complex passwords, like one of these, like that. Mm-hmm. And complex passwords are good because they're hard to guess. Complex passwords are bad because they're hard to remember. Yes. So I'm a fan of passphrases. So here's a good passphrases beat complex passwords. And you can use special characters like an @ for an A or a bang for a 1. Expression mark, bang, expression mark. So I'm a fan of passphrases. There are software packages called password managers. There's cloud-based password managers. Put all your passwords inside this cloud-based system, and then all you have to do is know how to log into the system. I'm not a fan. I'm not either. Because
it's too easy.
They're targets.
Yeah.
They're targets. Yeah. And sooner or later, we're gonna see on the news a big expose about somebody's password manager that was penetrated and everybody's passwords are leaked. We're gonna see a story about that one of these
I
days.
got 2 hard copy password.
Yeah, put them under the mattress is good.
Yeah,
Somewhere that's private.
yes.
So that's that. Passphrases beat passwords. Backups. We haven't even talked about ransomware,
Oh,
but ransomware is just another class of attacks. The best defense against ransomware is good backups. Make sure the backups are isolated from the systems you're backing up. So what happens is bad guys get inside your system, they scramble all your stuff, and they scramble all your data, and then they send you an extortion email. Pay us a bunch of money or you lose everything. The Tewksbury, Massachusetts Police Department a few years ago did good. They had good backups. They had a USB drive and they had backups on it. And then, but the computer could see the backups, and so they scrambled the backups too. The backups are no good. So you separate your backups from the thing that you're backing up. There's tactics to do that.
Okay.
So keep that in mind.
Are hard drives, external hard drives better or not?
External hard drives are fine.
Okay.
Just disconnect it.
Yeah.
Have a rotation.
Oh, I do.
So you have a rotation. So you back up, disconnect it,
Yeah.
and then when you back up, plug it in and disconnect it.
Yeah, I do.
And then that way you've always got one offline disconnected somewhere. There's other stuff too. Mobility is a big deal. Anything that a computer can do, a big computer can do, a cell phone can do, all the stuff I told you about that applies here. And Internet of Things, smart home devices, make sure they have updates. Tech tools is that's where McAfee and those guys fit in. Tech tools are good, but there's no substitute for good old-fashioned human judgment. That trumps everything. And this is good. I had an organization leader tell me that. Just tell me everything I know, and tell me everything I need to know in 25 words or less. We're already up against the clock. But I used to say, just jump and learn on your way down. But that's not mature. So if you're not going to remember everything I've told you because I'm just flying through, this is what I want you to remember. 6 words. It's only 6 words and even rhymes. Care and share to be prepared. Okay? Care enough that you'll actually do something instead of say that you do something. This is Kathleen Archuleta at the congressional hearing. She was unhappy. She lost her job in disgrace because she screwed over 2 million people. Well, she did because she didn't prioritize security enough. But sharing is a big deal. Sharing is controversial. I want you to share everything you do about cybersecurity. I want you to talk about openly about how you secure yourself. And if people make fun of you and tell you did it all wrong, endure the embarrassment and improve. And that's how you get better.
Okay.
And so that's controversial because sharing, people say you're just telling bad guys what they need to know. Guess what? Bad guys already know how to penetrate us. Bad guys spend all day probing and all night collaborating to make tomorrow's pros better. We hold close to the vest. We hide behind secrecy. That's why we keep making the same mistakes over and over and over. Sharing is a big deal. That's how you do trust. Trust with the suppliers.
Yeah.
Make them share. Make them tell you how they secure their stuff. Make them prove to you that they're good. Make them share. As a society, if we do that, if we make it stick, we win. That's why sharing is a big deal. I've got a couple slides about sharing that we're not going to do.
Greg,
Which you prefer, embarrassment or penetration?
Greg, we do need to wrap it up shortly, okay?
Yep, we're going to be done in about 30 seconds.
Okay.
2 great books. Great books. And then security is a process, not an event. Resistance is not futile.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. You do not have to be assimilated into the bad guy board collective. And I think one more plug. Oh yeah, this is good too. Don't buy the con jobs are alive on the internet. You can buy cans of dehydrated water for gag gifts.
Really?
And one more plug, if you want, on my website, click the big red button and tell me your name and email address, and I've got email. You'll get emails with a lot of the stuff we've talked about. It'll just come in bite-sized chunks, not one big, huge, long monster, hour-long thing. And there's how to contact me, and that's it.
Okay, thank you.